From the New Arts and Media Studios in River West, the greatest neighborhood in the world right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm Charles Purcell, and this is The Log. A special episode of The Log. I want to spend some time, I don't know, we'll see, maybe the whole segment, we'll see how long this takes. You know me, I've got an interest in word and phrase origins. Sometimes in the middle of talking to you, I'll take a little side note to discover the origin of some idiom or another. Well, I came across a piece on Inc.com. I'll give them full credit. And I found this fun and interesting, and I hope you do too. Mad as a hatter. Mad as a hatter. Of course, I thought that it was from Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. The character, the Mad Hatter, and I thought that was it. Well, if you thought so too, wrong. Meaning, of course, crazy, mad as a hatter. Origin, you thought this came from Alice in Wonderland, but it predates it. In 17th century France, hat makers used mercury in felt. As people wore and sweated in the felt hats, mercury poisoning occurred. Mad Hatter disease provoked irritable outbursts and tremors that had the hat wearer look loony. I guess this is going to be playful writing. So don't blame me if some of these little quips are groan-inducing. It appears that this article is going to try to be cute. Okay, I can live with that. That's all right. So there you go, mad as a hatter. Did you know that? Mercury. All right, number 2, looking at English language phrases and their origins. Bite the bullet. Bite the bullet, meaning to do something difficult you've been putting off. That's from old cowboy movies, without anesthetic, Civil War maybe, out on the battlefield. The surgeon has to take a bullet out of your leg. It's got to cut you up. So you bite a bullet somehow that's supposed to alleviate pain. I don't know how, but that's okay. That's the origin. Let's see if I'm right. The origin. In the 1800s, before anesthesia, surgery patients were given 2 things with which to deal with the pain: whiskey and a lead bullet to bite down on. Oh, I got that one right. Okay. I got it right. I'm a little disappointed. I thought there was going to be some odd, strange explanation that I'd never heard of before. All right. Well, I hope I'm not too good at this. That would spoil the fun if we're too good at this. All right. Break the ice. Let's try this one. All right. Let's think for a second. Break the ice. So that means to sort of get the conversation going, to get a connection going, break the ice with someone. I don't know. Let me think. Break the ice. Yeah, I don't have even a good guess on this one. Maybe it's a party. You have to break up the ice to pour the drinks. All right, there's my guess. Because I honestly don't know this one. There's my guess. You got anything? You got anything better? All right, let's see. Break the ice. Origin. When ships were the primary means of trade, they often got stuck in ice in the winter. Trade ships coming into port were frequently met by small ships sent out by the receiving nation to break the ice, clearing the way. The gesture demonstrated welcome and understanding between the two countries. Wow, there you go. Okay. No idea. All right, so there's break the ice. Caught red-handed. So, in other words, caught in the act of doing something wrong. You're guilty. Caught red-handed. All right, let's think here. Caught red-handed. Well, no. See, now they have those little explosive devices in highly secure packages. You've seen this. You've seen this in movies. Do they have this in real life too? I know they have it in sort of spy movies. Yeah, if you get into a package that is highly secure, you're not supposed to be touching, it'll explode with some sort of red dye. But that's too modern. That can't be the origin of this. Caught red-handed. Caught red-handed. What do you think? I don't have a guess. I'll say this. Maybe something having to do with blood? Red-handed? Like you murdered somebody and you got their blood on your hands? I don't know. That's a guess. Let's see. Caught red-handed. Origin. An Old English law said you could be punished for butchering an animal that wasn't yours, but to be convicted, you had to still have the animal's blood on your hands. Okay, that's weird. I got the blood part right, but I would never have guessed that. Old English law. Now, there's a topic we should spend an entire episode on sometime. We should go back and explore Old English law. I'll bet that's just a treasure trove of weirdness. Yeah, you could be punished for butchering an animal that wasn't yours. But if you cleaned up quickly enough, they couldn't arrest you. They had to see the blood on your hands, i.e. caught red-handed. All right. I love this stuff. All right, number 5, butter someone up. Butter someone up. So you flatter, kind of prepare them for what's to come next. Try to get into their good favor, butter someone up. Okay, what could that mean? Well, if you think about it literally, it's either sexual or disgusting or both. Butter someone up. Butter them up. I have no idea. I'd love to have a clever guess for you, but I can't. Let me see. If you butter someone up. No, I'm just going to have to look this one up. Meaning, of course, to flatter someone in the hopes of getting them to do something for you. The origin. A customary religious act in ancient India. People threw butter balls at statues of gods to incur their favor and or forgiveness. What? I think this might be another one of those cases where we should get a second opinion. I think we need to check this one out. This just sounds way too odd. A customary religious act in ancient India. People threw butter balls at statues of gods to incur their favor and or forgiveness. So not only does that sound too weird to believe, I'd like to have it checked out. But if it is true, we got to dig further. Why did they do this? What was the significance of butter? And in balls, no less. Was there a time when butter came in balls rather than the rectangular shape we're used to seeing it now? Well, there is the word butter ball. That has to come from somewhere. Yeah, this this opens up way more questions than it answers. Now I want to know the history of butter, the various shapes of butter over time and across cultures, why they felt the necessity to throw butter balls at statues of the gods, and why they thought that this would incur favor and or forgiveness. Just so many questions on this one. I'm not at all satisfied. The phrase butter someone up. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do on this one. All right, next, to give someone the cold shoulder. All right, well, to give someone the cold shoulder is to, as they put it here, to be unwelcoming. Kind of turn your back on them, give them the cold shoulder. Well, yeah, turning your back physically, I guess that would be presenting your shoulder in a way. Give them the cold shoulder. Why is it cold? Yeah, I need someone more clever than I. I need a professional comedian to give some funny answers. I need Paul Lynde. Was that his name? The guy, the center square in Hollywood Squares? Always had the great answers. That show was well written back in the day when I was a kid. Are you familiar with old classic Hollywood Squares? Paul Lynde was always the center square, and they wrote responses. They wrote funny answers for the celebrities. They weren't just coming up with this stuff. And it was well written. It was high quality comedy. From your resident comedy nerd, I'm here to tell you. So that's who I need today. I need a Paul Lynde to be here helping me out. Next time we do this, I'll bring in a guest host, someone with a better wit than I possess. Because I'm sure there's some very funny answers to these that I'm just not coming up with. All right, give someone the cold shoulder. I don't know. Let's see what they say. Oh, it's medieval England again. Origin. In medieval England, if you were a guest and you were given a cold piece of meat from the shoulder of mutton, pork, or beef chop, you knew it meant the host wanted you to leave. It was a polite way of saying, please get out, but here's some meat for your way. So, as a guest in medieval England, if you were served a cold piece of meat from the shoulder of mutton, pork, or beef chop, that was the host telling you, you must go now. All right. Who in the world would have guessed that in a million years? Nobody. Yeah, you must go now. Again, I use that phrase often. That's one of my favorite phrases, and the origin of that is from an old Seinfeld episode. And I've explained this to you before. If you're a regular listener, you know all about "You Must Go Now." It was when George was trying to sell the sitcom pilot that he and Jerry produced for NBC. After NBC turned him down, he pulls it off the shelf a couple of years later, tries to sell it to Japanese television. And there's some pretty bad communications going on and hijinks, as is the case, especially in those years of Seinfeld. Things got a little crazier. And the Japanese television executive says to George, "You must go now," when he's had enough. All right. Number 7 from Inc.com. Origins of phrases. To bite off more than you can chew. Meaning to take on a task beyond what you're realistically capable of. All right, bite off what more than you can chew. All right, well, it's quite literal. The imagery is clear. You've put into your mouth more than you're capable of chewing. So there's just the obvious analogy there. Bite off more than you can chew. What would the origin of that phrase be? Bite off more than you can chew. All right, you have your guess? Here's the answer. Origins. America in the 1800s saw a lot of people chewing tobacco. Sometimes the chewer put more tobacco into their mouth than they could chew, leading to some awkward backpedaling. Yeah, I don't like that one. It's too literal. It literally is biting off more than you can chew. It's, it's specifically tobacco. I didn't think of that. But it's just generally unpleasant. If I have a phobia, I think I really do have a phobia about mouths and chewing. I don't like to see people eat too closely. I don't like to see people's mouths in action. It kind of grosses me out. I'm phobic about that. Chewing tobacco? Spitting tobacco? I can't think of anything more unpleasant. Just don't let me anywhere near that. People, you'll see scenes in movies or television shows, people brushing their teeth. Don't show me that. I don't want to see that. Yeah, I'm phobic about mouths. Any kind of gross out humor, a lot of people seem to like that. You know, people hurling and drooling. And, oh my God, anything around the mouth. Nope. I have a phobia. Is there a word for that? Fear of mouths? Fear of saliva? Yep. All right, the whole 9 yards. The whole 9 yards. Where does that expression come from? Well, you hear yards, unless you're a seamstress, you think football. Nobody really deals in yards except for seamstresses and football fans. So, but the whole 9 yards doesn't quite make sense in the football context because it's 10 yards to a first down. So it would be the whole 10 yards. The whole 9 yards, you're still one short, so the word whole is a bad fit. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. The whole 9 yards, let's see, could it have something to do with tailoring? Ah, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. The whole 9 yards. Is it maybe it's a form of measurement. I know there's something called a bolt of material. I don't know how much that is. Is that 9 yards? Is a bolt 9 yards? All right, let's reveal the answer, see if I'm onto anything. Origin. In World War II, fighter pilots were rationed 9 yards of ammunition. If you ran out, it meant you had tried your very best to fight off the target. You used the whole 9 yards. All right. We're learning today. We're learning. World War II, 9 yards of ammunition was the fighter pilot's ration. All right. If you ran out, you used your whole 9 yards. Okay. Do everything you possibly can. Next, let the cat out of the bag. That's, of course, to reveal some sort of secret, unintentionally or intentionally, but I think it more connotes unintentional reveal. Let the cat out of the bag. All right. Let's think about this. Well, why is a cat in a bag in the first place? Why would you put a cat in a bag? The only time you put a cat in a bag is, and this is horrible, I don't even want to say it out loud, but that's how you drown a cat. And that's what people, I don't know if it still happens, I hope not. Used to happen. You get a big old litter of kittens. They're just a nuisance. Nobody wants to take care of them. Nobody wants to see them grow into a bunch of big old cats. So you just put them in a bag, you put them in a sack, and you drown them. I know it's awful. I'm not condoning this. But a cat in a bag, I mean, there's a cat in a box. We've certainly all seen that. There's a cat in a hat, and there's Schrodinger's cat. But cat in a bag? And why is it in the bag in the first place that we have to let it out? I don't know. Let's find out. Origin. Up to the 1700s, people sold pig carcasses in bags. Common street fraud included padding the bag with cats, which were worth far less than pigs. If a cat was let out of a bag, the jig was up. Oh my God, that's horrible. So we're talking about dead, skinned cats put in the bag with pig carcasses to pad the sale. I assume that's what they mean. They don't mean live cats. I can't imagine that. They don't go into a lot of detail here. No, we're not talking about live furry cats squirming around inside the bag. No, these are unreputable sellers selling what's supposed to be pig carcasses in a bag, and some of them turn out to be cat carcasses, which were worth far less than pigs. Well, I didn't say this was all going to be pleasant. So that's the origin of let the cat out of the bag, to reveal a secret by accident. Okay. Well, here's a phrase they just used. The jig is up. The jig is up, meaning you've been discovered in your ruse, in your dirty dealing. You've been caught. The jig is up. All right. Well, a jig is a dance. What else is a jig? I don't know. The jig is up, meaning to be caught in your wrongdoing. The jig is up. I don't know. Origin. It might seem like the origin should be that when the song is over, it's time to pay the fiddler. Oh, okay. I should have guessed that. That's a good guess. But that's not the case. It's more simple. In Elizabethan England, the word jig became slang for a practical joke or trick. The jig is up. So whatever trick you're playing, whatever joke, whatever practical joke you're trying to pull, it's over. The jig is up. Yeah, some of these really leave me wanting more. I need more information. All right. To fly off the handle, meaning to become suddenly enraged. Fly off the handle. Fly off the handle. No, I don't know. In the 1800s, poorly made axes would sometimes actually detach from the handle. They could end up crashing into a house or even impaling a person, which could cost you an arm and a leg in damages. It's my guess the next phrase is going to be arm and a leg. I'm guessing that. I'm on to their games here. All right, so fly off the handle. That's just the axe flying off a poorly made handle. Okay, all right. But how would that mean you're suddenly enraged? Yeah, okay. Inc.com, you're starting to lose me. I don't see how those two things are connected, and you haven't told me. So once again, this is just more questions than answers, requiring more research. So pull that magic device out of your pocket. Let me know what you come up with. I want more information on to fly off the handle. Next phrase, just as I predicted, to cost an arm and a leg. Of course, it means very expensive, to cost a great deal. Origin, in the 18th century, it was common to get your portrait done, but not all portraits were equal in price. Paintings without certain limbs showing were less expensive. Having visible limbs cost more. Oh, I like that one. I want my portrait painted. You want your arms and your legs? It's going to cost you. All right. Heard it through the grapevine. Ooh, I bet you're wondering how I knew about your plans to make me blue. Heard it through the grapevine. Well, no, it didn't originate with the song. That's, of course, to get information indirectly, the gossip or talk. Origin, the first telegraph stations in the U.S. had twisting, bundling wires that often draped in random patterns around the station. Both operators and bystanders thought the tangled webs looked like grapevines, giving rise to the common expression. It was then commemorated in the famous song by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Heard It Through the Grapevine. So, early telegraph stations in the U.S., twisting, bundling wires that draped in random patterns, known as the grapevine. All right, okay. Still doesn't quite tell me how it came to mean sort of gossip or talk rather than actual communication through a telegraph station. Well, I got to stop complaining. This is just a fun little article. A couple more. Riding shotgun. That, of course, to sit in the front seat with the driver. Yeah, that was a big thing when I was a kid. We spent a lot of our time just driving. I grew up in a small town. It was kind of a Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp kind of experience for me. Just get in a car and drive around. You'd think there'd be some excitement on the horizon, but there almost never was. Just drive around, talk with your buddies. It's a guy thing. I don't know what the girls were doing while we were driving around. What were you doing while we drove around as teenagers? I'd love to know. I don't really know that. I don't know the answer to that. charlesburcell@gmail.com. Let me know. All right, riding shotgun. Probably a military thing, I guess. You're right there by the driver, and you're the main gunner. That's got to be it, right? Let's see. When stagecoaches were a primary mode of transportation, the seat next to the driver was often taken by someone holding a shotgun, so they could ward off bandits trying to loot passengers. Okay, that one makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that's an easier one. Next, and next to last. To read someone the riot act. You know, I learned this expression later in life. I was well into adulthood before I really heard that expression, or at least understood it. I think for a long time, if anybody used that expression, I wasn't sure what I was hearing. Read them the riot act? What in the world? Am I even hearing them correctly? I eventually figured out what they meant, that they're, kind of scolding someone, chastise loudly as they put it here. But that's an odd expression. And I remember for the longest time, I thought, am I even hearing that right? Okay, so the riot act. It's got to be some sort of law from history, I guess. Let's find out. King George I passed the actual riot act in 1714, legislation meant to squash gatherings of subjects the crown saw as threatening. Rioters were given 1 hour to disband, otherwise they were imprisoned or sentenced to penal servitude. So to read someone the riot act is just to say, get out of here. Nothing to see here. Go on. Yeah, and when I think of the phrase read them the riot act, that's more of a kind of a very enthusiastic accusation. Like, you've done this wrong. You've done something very, very wrong, and you need to know that I know, and you better stop doing that, and you better make things right. It's not just disperse. Yeah, every one of these needs more research. And finally, on our list from Inc.com on origins of phrases, Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. They save the best for last. The meaning, as they put it here, waiting for something to happen you feel is inevitable. Okay, that's a good little definition. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay, they're dancing. People are dancing. One shoe flies off. The dance continues. I don't know. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Shoes have a special cultural significance in the Middle East, hence the throwing of shoes at George W. Bush in that famous scene. We came to learn that the throwing of the shoe, I didn't know this beforehand, was the greatest indication of disrespect. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. What could this mean? Well, how did the first shoe drop? And the continuation of some process would then result in the next shoe dropping. All right, let's find out. In the tenements of New York City in the late 19th and early 20th century, apartments were built with bedrooms on top of one another. It was common to hear your upstairs neighbor take off a shoe, drop it, and then repeat the action. It became shorthand for waiting for something you knew was coming. All right, I like that one. That's kind of a sweet way to end this thing. You heard one shoe drop? Wait for it. There it is. Probably also the origin of the phrase, wait for it. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that. We took a day off from the hard and bitter news of the day. Got to do that occasionally, right? There are your origins of phrases. Thanks again to Inc.com for doing all the work today. So, yeah, do me a favor, and each one of these needs a little more research. Let me know what you find. All right. I hope you enjoyed that, if you're a fan of idioms like I am. Well, let me take a moment here. We got a couple seconds. I want to remind you that this episode of The Log and every episode can be found at charlesburcell.com. There's your one-stop shop. Every episode of this podcast and all the other titles. We've done several podcasts over the years, including Stream of Consciousness Talk Radio Theater, the old Neo Radio show from KPFA days back in Berkeley. There's just so much good stuff at the website, charlesburcell.com. Of course, all the links are there as well to various podcast platforms. Everybody has their favorite platforms they use. You'll find us on the major platforms, so subscribe, like on your social media. Of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter. You know how all that works. You know, I've noticed when a couple of you share the episodes, the listenership just goes through the roof. You have more friends than I do. So if you can share occasionally, if you like something, I'd be most appreciative. And you'd really get our listenership up past my meager numbers. You have all the power. So I'd appreciate that if you could share. I need to thank River West Radio, riverwestradio.com, our flagship terrestrial station. I need to thank Peter Donalds, who composed and performed our theme song. I need to thank you for listening. I appreciate that. And there it is. Let's call it a day. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. I love you. I'm Charles Burcell.